and welcome to a very special version of A Nice Cup of Histortea. We know we had a bit of a break. We were hoping to come back at the start of the new year. So firstly, Happy New Year!
Happy 2022!
We were going to do this a little bit earlier on, but
It was due the 1st of January. We planned it to be the 1st of January.
Yeah, but then there was a fly in the ointment, so to speak, because got COVID.
Yes, I got COVID.
But good news, folks, she's feeling better now, aren't you?
Yes, I feel fine. I've got a bit of a weird, laryngitis, which was, left over from COVID.
As you do.
Where my voice just goes a bit funny, so I apologise if I kind of lose my voice by the end of this and sound a bit funny.
So there's a slight chance that throughout the recording of this podcast you may sound like a teenage boy.
Yeah, pretty much.
Fair.
But
Well,
yeah. I'm excited though.
Yeah, this is, as we said, this is a very special version because instead of the normal epic historical content that you are used to, we are bringing you... You right?
Yeah, just my tea with the new lacto-free milk. I just forgot what the taste was like and I tried it and it just shocked me a little bit. I'm sorry.
I'll continue explaining whilst Em adjusts to her tea.
My apologies.
Yeah, we are going to do the very first of, hopefully annual, if we do it right,
Yep.
Histortea Awards.
Da, 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 da.
So, we've been talking to you for a couple of years now about history and the dark side of history and fairy tales and things. So we thought it would be cool to kind of culminate those in an awards.
So awards ceremony, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, they're not official. No one's getting a trophy. It's more of a participation medal, you did well.
Yes, well done. And it's obviously subject... There's 11 awards, 10 of which are subject to our interpretation.
Yep.
There was one that was given over to the public, but we shall get back to that later on.
We shall indeed. So we're going to start with the first award of our first awards.
Wow.
I know, right? This is exciting. So, the very first award that we have for you today is the longest reigning monarch.
Which is what tea?
The oolong tea. Oh yeah, we have named them after
yes,
types of
but
tea.
you didn't.
I didn't say that.
Start again, Carrie. The first award or the first awards?
Is the Oolong Tea Award, or longest reigning monarch. Now,
Yeah.
this one is factual, and it's unlikely to change unless someone suddenly overtakes.
Yeah, and we will say, just before we get into it, quickly, that Carrie and I have spent the morning choosing the winners of this, except for one, which we're going to discuss here.
Yeah.
But we have spent the morning going through these. So
We have indeed.
Yes.
And I will say, for the longest reigning monarch, we have the years, so we know how long they reigned in years. However, for some of them, because of the era that they reigned in, we're not entirely sure of the date they reigned. So we can't narrow it down to months and days.
No.
We just know the years.
Yeah.
And we are sorry to say, as English people, that good old Queen Liz does not even come in the top 10.
But she's the only one of them that is currently alive.
Yeah, she's the current incumbent monarch.
Yes.
And she's the longest reigning British monarch.
Yeah, and she celebrates her 70th year this year, her jubilee.
She
Platinum?
does. Yeah, it's platinum.
Platinum jubilee, and we get an extra bank holiday for it, us in the UK.
We do.
In
So
June.
a little moment to just say congratulations, Your Majesty. It's been a tough year for you, but thank you so much.
It has been the worst year.
Yeah.
You don't deserve any of what's been thrown your way. But hopefully the crap has ended and you can enjoy your jubilee.
Hopefully.
But the award doesn't go to you. I'm sorry. Sorry,
I'm
Liz.
afraid not. We've got some that have the same kind of year.
Okay.
So in joint third place, with a total of 77 years. Reigning most recently from 1685 to 1762, we have Rasing Deo of Patna in India.
Yay, Rasindeo.
And from about 268 to 284, it's not quite sure, to 345 to 361. We don't know the exact year, all we know is how many years. We have Miriam III of Iberia, and both of them reigned for a total of 77 years.
Yay, well done to both of you.
Woo. In second place, from 413 to 491, this is all AD,
Yep.
Jiangsu of Goguryeo. I apologise if I mispronounced that. But Jiangsu reigned for 78 years.
Wow.
Yeah. See, I thought it was going to be Ramses III. I was wrong. He only did something like 68 years.
That's nothing.
His claim to fame was having over 600 children.
He was on it.
Yep. That was a big hurry. But the winner.
The winner, drum roll please.
And our first award, the Oolong Award, goes to Hanayas of Hariphunchai in Thailand, reigning from 670 to 750 for a grand total of 80 years.
Wow, that's...
Nice and round as well, round number, we appreciate that.
Do you reckon he was just like, you know what, I don't want to go on a random ass number.
Yeah.
I'm just going to get to a 0.
It's like when you're doing your petrol or your diesel and you scrib just that little bit more just to get there, and just like that little bit more, just 80 years and then gone.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the Oolong Tea Award goes to
Hanayas of Hariphunchai.
Very nice.
Congratulations.
Yes, we will put a picture of you with your award on our Instagram.
We shall indeed. Or a drawing, because there will be no photographs from back then.
I said a picture.
Yes. It might be a woodcut. It might be a painting. We don't know what form it's going to take. We'll find it.
But that is your reward. Your reward for your award.
Your reward is having your name said in conjunction with tea.
What more could you want?
So, on to our next award.
Yes.
And our second award is one of my favourites, coolest historical figure.
Or
Dragon Well Tea.
You really should say the teas first, Carrie. That's the point.
It's the Dragon Well Tea because it's cool. It's dragon tea.
Yeah.
So the coolest historical figure. So we have 3 nominees for this.
Yeah, this one was a lot of debate because people who we personally think is cool.
Yeah, might not be cool, but to be fair, the ones that we've picked are ones that pretty cool.
Like I wanted to include Charles Darwin.
Yeah.
For riding on the back of a giant tortoise in the Galapagos.
And for the whole natural selection.
Yeah, but that's not why I think it's cool.
Well, no, but it does help.
Yeah.
It does admittedly help.
But yeah, he didn't make the top 3.
So, one of the nominees is one that's actually quite literally close to home. And that is Boudica of the Iceni. Yeah. Now, Boudica is one of the... was one of the old Celtic queens from the Iceni tribe that was part of Norfolk. And they were a prominent tribe during the time of the Roman invasion.
In Norfolk, however, we call it Iceni.
Really?
Yeah. The Iceni tribe. That's how we was always thought it. And we were Boudica in the Iceni tribe. And other people have said like Boudicca and stuff.
Yeah, but Boudicca, no, it's Boudica.
Boudica from the Iceni tribe. And as we're from Norfolk, you should say the Norfolkism.
Iceni. Okay.
Thank you.
Boudica and her husband, Prasutagus, were the leaders of their tribes. The Romans came in. Prasutagus gave some sort of tribute to the Romans, that everything was going fine. Prasutagus died. It all went wrong. Boudica, under Celtic law, Boudica was owed half of her husband's estate. The Romans wanted everything because they didn't think a woman could rule. She decided to say, no, it is mine. This is a vast oversimplification. We'll probably do a full episode.
Oh yeah, we're not going to go into massive depth as to why.
Yeah.
Just the specifics of why we've picked them.
Yeah. The Romans did some bad things to her and her daughters, and she decided enough was enough, led a massive Celtic uprising against them, thrashed them all up and down what is now Watling Street, and marched on London and just basically decimated a couple of temples and caused a lot of havoc for the Romans.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until they were eventually ambushed in the forest that they were able to be stopped.
Yeah.
And legend has it, because we're not entirely sure, but instead of allowing herself to be captured, she drank poison. So she had the last laugh.
And genuinely, I know we talk about it a lot as a joke, but if you want to know about Boudica, the Horrible History song Boudica is very spot on.
Yeah.
Gives her whole life in about like a 2-minute song, and it's very good.
It's a banging tune and all.
It is. So if you want to learn a bit more about Boudica, but you can't be bothered to read loads, listen to the song. You'll learn quite a lot.
Yep. So, Boudica, one of our contenders.
Yep.
We're going to stick with the women for the next contender. Chang-Chi, the Chinese pirate.
Oh, she's cool. You found her.
I did.
This morning, and she's cool.
She does have a cameo, Pirates of the Caribbean fans, when they are at the Pirates Council, and they have all the different pirates from the different nations. Chang-Chi is the female pirate.
Really?
Yeah, she's
That's
a
cool.
female Chinese pirate.
Didn't know they had her in the Pirates of the Caribbean though.
She started life as a prostitute. Didn't quite go well. She then fell into piracy, found out she was pretty damn good at it. So good, in fact, that the Chinese government launched an armada against her. She thrashed the armada, took 63 of their ships into her own fleet, or even took ships from the Dutch and the British, who were the two main naval forces at the time.
Yeah.
She was renowned all throughout, like, the areas of the East India Trading Company, and all throughout those waters and the main pirate waters as well. And she was a bit of a badass. And by the time she eventually came to surrender, because she did surrender, she'd had enough. She had over 17,000 crewmen in her fleet, and she didn't meet the normal fate of pirates. She may have gotten into a lot of trouble, but she was actually allowed to keep all of her loot, and she died at the ripe old age of 69, owning a brothel/casino from her loot.
We're not going to talk about the fact she owned a brothel and died at 69.
Yeah.
Okay. So she's cool.
She is pretty cool.
Being a pirate ain't great. You do some pretty shady shit. But the fact that she came aboard and took over and...
Yeah, and it's just like, she thrashed the Chinese and everyone else was like, you know what?
Big up those two kick-ass women.
Yeah. So, in order to represent, the third one has to be a guy.
And this is our winner.
So, this is our winner because he is actually kind of
Oh my
awesome.
God, this guy.
Oh, he's just... He's one of those ones that he would be unbelievable if he wasn't so cool.
So, the winner of the Dragon Tea Award is...
Major Alison Digby Tatham Water.
Also known as Digby.
Tell
us his story, Carrie.
Well, there's a lot of stories about Digby. And he fought during the Second World War. And he was part of a group that... they were in a town over a bridge in Germany, and he didn't want his people to particularly get into too much trouble with the Germans. It wouldn't have ended well.
I mean, World War II wasn't great for us for the majority of the 5 years it was on.
Well, no. So what he did is, instead of marching down the main town route, he took his people through the back gardens so that they wouldn't meet them, all the while waving his signature piece, an umbrella. He would go into battle with an umbrella and a bowler hat because, and his rationale behind this was that people would know he was English because only a damn fool Englishman would take an umbrella into battle. So that he would always be instantly recognisable. There was no doubt that, he was a spy or anything. And using that umbrella, he has actually taken down an armoured vehicle by putting the umbrella through the vision slit and poking the driver in the eye. So he took down an armoured vehicle with a bowler hat and an umbrella. He got all his men to safety through the back. On the way, they took about, I think it was 80 odd German prisoners. So they took a lot of prisoners on the way, and then they came under fire at the bridge, and he saw a Padre. What's the name for them in? I've completely blanked on it. Chaplain, thank you. Yeah, he saw a chaplain.
You didn't explain yourself for me to be able to help. You just went Padre, the name, the thing. That's what chaplain. Yes.
You helped me by sitting there staring blankly at me, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so he saw a chaplain who was trying to get to some wounded soldiers, and he ran out and brought the chaplain back with him under fire of bullets with the umbrella up. And the umbrella protected them. And when someone asked him why the umbrella's not going to protect you from bullets, his response was, what if it rains?
I mean, yeah.
So our coolest historical person, for the sheer badassery, bold-faced randomness,
he's got some cojones.
Yeah, he has some cojones. He is incredibly, unbelievably the Britishest British person ever.
I'm just surprised. I'm just a little bit disappointed that with the bowler hat and the umbrella, he didn't also have a tea.
He probably did at one point, let's be honest. So, our Dragonwell Tea Award goes to Major Digby Tatham Water.
Yay! That one's cool.
The man with the bowler hat and the umbrella.
And your award for that the reward for that award will be your picture on our social media.
It will indeed. Although I don't think we have a picture of him in his bowler hat, but there is one in his maroon beret. Because he sometimes refused to wear a helmet, he'd wear his beret instead.
Nice.
Fair enough. So, on to our third award.
Nice.
This is the Green Tea Award.
Oh, you said the tea first. Well done.
I'm learning. So, with the Green Tea Award, green tea has been a bit of a game changer for people. People are using it for health reasons, for calm reasons, instead of black tea, etc. So, the Green Tea Award is for the historical game changer.
Oh, this was a good debate.
Yeah. It was basically the person who has made a big enough impact in history.
A significant historical impact.
Yeah.
Like, without their inventions, a lot of things wouldn't have happened. I mean, it probably would have been invented
eventually, yeah.
Yeah. But it was invented when it was because of them.
Yeah. Wow. Way to word.
I do not word good.
It's fine. I was getting my mucking words fuddled earlier as well. Yeah, you're glad I said that one right. So, swallow.
You said that as I took a mouthful. Jesus.
I mean, that would have been a brilliant spit take, but all over the laptop.
Yep. So the Green Tea Awards.
In third place, we have the brothers. Right, the Wright brothers.
The Orville and Wilbur Wright.
That was it, Orville and Wilbur. For some reason, I wanted to say Edgar, and it wasn't. It was Orville.
It was.
Orville and Wilbur Wright. So, for those of you that don't know, what did the Wright brothers do?
They invented the aeroplane. Basically, they took an engine that was in a car engine and wanted to know what they could add to it to make it fly. And they created the first kind of airplane. You know the one that you see in the pictures that has like 6 wings?
Yeah.
That one.
The old wooden ones type.
Yeah. So they created the flying machine, which I think you got to say is pretty damn.
Yeah, that is
game changing.
Yeah, because up until then, if you wanted to go to another country, you had to get a boat.
Yes.
Or a train if it was landlocked, so like Europe or across America. Otherwise, it would be a boat, and you're looking at months.
Yeah.
This changed it from months to a matter of hours. So yeah, that's a game changer.
Definitely, and they did it together. Oh,
brothers! Yeah.
Brothers.
In second place, we have Johannes Gutenberg.
Yeah.
And this one is...
He came to your mind straight away.
Yeah, because Johannes Gutenberg invented the printing press.
Yeah.
And it's up until that point, if you wanted a book or anything copied, then it would be usually down to monks or literate people to copy out, which would take ages because they copy it out by hand.
Yep.
Or you had a version of the printing press where it was all like different letters, one in one, and you'd have to change it constantly, and it was really, really slow. But Gutenberg, he basically made a manufactured version of a book. So now we have printed books, which as historians and like literary lovers and aspiring authors ourselves, pretty damn important.
Yeah.
It also led to mass information, press, freedom of the press, etc., freedom of speech. Not always a good thing, but it led to the ability for everybody who wanted to learn to read to be able to learn to read.
Yeah, it was a significant invention. It changed the game.
It really did. It really did. But not quite enough to beat our winner.
Yes.
Very close.
Yeah.
But literally the only thing that hinged on it, I think, was the fact that our winner saved lives. So. And it's quite poignant at the moment, I think.
Yes. So the Green Tea Award winner is...
Edward Jenner.
Edward Jenner.
Do you want to take this one?
He basically invented vaccinations. Or he realised that you could make immunisations to cure illnesses. So and with basically when he was around, it was mostly smallpox was a massive killer. So he realised that smallpox and cowpox were quite similar. So he was like, if I inject these people with cowpox and these cows with smallpox, let's see what happens. And he realised that by having one of them, you are immune to the others. So he kind of started the ball rolling on injecting a small amount of a disease makes you immune to its full effects.
Yeah, and considering this was the first known major vaccine.
Yeah.
Experiments have been done before with it, but this was the first known vaccine that then became mass produced, and at the moment we know how important vaccines are at the moment.
Obviously, the COVID-19 has taken over the world for the last 2 years, and we have a vaccination against it. We've both had all 3 vaccinations.
Yeah.
And also, like, you cannot stop the importance of vaccinations.
Yeah,
Like,
whether or not you believe that the COVID vaccine is real, because you know people are entitled to their opinions. You can't deny that things like the smallpox vaccine, your polio, TB, typhus, all of those vaccines, that they have made a massive difference.
They have saved lives.
Yeah.
The flu vaccine, as simple as that is, every year saves thousands of lives.
Yep, exactly. It's
like,
and not just the vaccines themselves, but not just the diseases, knock-on effects as well. So even if you were to survive the disease without it, you'd still get knock-on effects from that disease.
Yeah.
So the vaccines have helped to save lives, bring families together, and
Like, I'm physically say I had all 3 of my vaccines last year. I got COVID beginning of this year, and I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
Yet before the vaccines, a lot of people unfortunately passed away, and they still are. But at the beginning in 2020, a lot of people died from COVID before we had any sort of vaccine. So yeah, that is a significant, massively huge, important.
Yeah.
He deserves that.
He very, very much deserves.
Mr. Edward Jenner.
So,
Dr. Edward Jenner.
Game-changing green tea leaf winner person, the best bag in... Oh my god. I did not word. I don't know where I was going with that.
Edward Jenner.
Edward Jenner. Woo! Jenner. Yay!
Oh my god.
We will be more refined next year. Okay, so, moving swiftly on. Gunpowder tea.
Ooh.
Now, this is one I personally probably wouldn't want to try.
No.
But it sounded pretty cool and sounded perfect for the topic, which is the most epic battle.
Yes.
So, we had a lot to choose from.
Yes, and we also need to decide on what we meant by epic battle. Did we mean by epic win? But then that brought up the discussion of, did we think we won because we're taught that the English won this battle?
Yeah.
But there's lots of battles that have happened where the English didn't win. But they're still epic. We had to think about what was meant by epic. Was it length of battle, survivors of battle, deaths of battle?
And it's like...
grandeur.
It depends on who reports it as well.
Yeah.
So one of the contenders that I initially proposed, which isn't one of the 3, was the Battle of Agincourt, which for the English, pretty epic. For the French, not so much.
Yeah. But we're taught it being epic because we won.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if any of our French listeners know, how do you get taught Agincourt? Do you get taught the Battle of Agincourt in depth?
Yeah. I mean,
it might not be epic.
It was one of those ones as well. There was a lot of what ifs this hadn't happened, or what if this had happened. But I think a lot of battles are like that.
Yeah, but the 3 we've settled on and the winner, I think I'm happy with those decisions.
Yeah. So, one of our first one, we're going very, very far back in time.
Yes.
And it is one that I think a lot of people will be aware of, just because of the epic films around it and the mythos that surrounded it. So we're going to do a little bit of myth busting with it, and we'll probably go into more detail about the battle itself in a later episode. But the battle is the Battle of Thermopylae.
Yeah.
Also known as the 300 Spartans.
Yeah.
So what happened is you had the massive Persian invasion. There was a couple of battles between the Persians and the Greeks, but the Persians, under King Xerxes, decided that they were going to try and take Greece. And they had an army of somewhere between 70 to 300,000.
If you've watched the movie 300, you kind of...
Big army. Many people.
Many people.
Many. So yeah, that between 70 to 300,000. And the Spartans, the Greeks had all decided to fight. The Spartans had said, you know what, we will fight as well. And what happened is the Spartans took them on at Thermopylae, which was along the coastline in Greece. It's a bottleneck, basically. And it was King Leonidas, or Leonidas. That's how they pronounce it in Assassin's Creed, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, King Leonidas and his 300 Spartans took on over 70,000 Persians. And there's the whole myth around it in that the sky was painted black with arrows. Like, there was that many arrows, it blotted out the sun. And the only way the Persians were able to beat the Spartans, they fought that furiously. Like, there was literally walls of body. They made a wall out of bodies to protect themselves. The only way the Persians were able to get around is a little goat herd track that they found. In the film, it's betrayed by someone, so there was a betrayal. But yeah, there was a little track that goat herders used to use that they found, and they were able to then come up behind the Spartans. So the Spartans were one of the most prolific warrior races.
Yeah.
And they were pretty badass. And for 300 of them to hold off the Persians for that long, pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, pretty epic.
Pretty epic, yes.
Okay.
Yes, that is epic. So that is the Battle of Thermopylae.
Yep. Okay, the next one that we went with, so our second battle, is epic, but not in like a yay kind of way. It's epic because it has gone down in British history as being the deadliest battle we've ever had. It only lasted for like a day, this specific time, and thousands of British soldiers died.
Well, I've actually got the casualty numbers for it.
You go.
So do you want to say the name of the battle first?
Yep, our second one for this is the Battle of the Somme.
In 1916, the total casualties for British soldiers is recorded at 420,000 and French 200,000. And for on the German side, anywhere between 434 to 445,000 people.
That's in a day.
That's in a day. That's basically 1 million people in a
Yeah.
day gone from both sides, and you can't fathom it.
It's not, the casualty number is horrendous, obviously, but it's the fact that they were told to run over into oncoming shots. You're running towards being shot at.
But also, and I'm going to say this, and I know there might be some backlash from what I'm about to say, because I do completely understand the reason, the political reasons, but also the whole freedom reason behind the wars.
Yeah.
But the Battle of the Somme, that much loss in one day, for what?
Yeah, exactly. It was completely pointless.
For a couple of feet of ground.
To be fair, World War One was completely pointless.
It was.
Nothing was achieved.
It was, all it did was literally set up World War Two. That was it.
Yeah, literally it. Because World War Two, obviously we had to go and stop what was happening over in Germany.
Yeah, there was a lot of a stronger cause.
Yeah, but World War One was basically happened because of friendships.
Yeah.
Sorry to dumb it down a bit, but it was like you picked on my friend, so I'm going to fight you, and you're my friend, so you've got to fight with me. Oh yeah, but you're my friend, so you've got to fight with me.
Yeah.
Literally all it was, and in that one day, 1 million men lost their lives.
Yeah.
1 million men didn't come home. And families ended. Bloodlines ended.
Yeah. There was
nothing.
Like entire families would go, and they would just all be wiped out in one go. And by that point, the parents were too old to have any more children, so that was it. That was the male line gone.
Yeah.
And not to mention the civilian casualties as well.
Yeah.
It was just,
and the animal casualties.
Yeah.
100%. It was epic, but not in the same way as, like we said, like the Battle of Thermopylae was epic because of how awesome the Spartans were.
Yeah.
This was epic,
and they knew what they were fighting for, but they knew why.
The Somme was epic for completely opposite reasons.
Yeah, it was epic for all the wrong reasons. Yeah. And that brings us to our winner, which is important because, again, they knew what they were fighting for, but also epic for all the wrong reasons because it was also a massive toll of life as well.
So the winner of the gunpowder tea is
the Battle of Gettysburg as part of the American Civil War.
Yes.
So, Battle of Gettysburg, for those of you that don't know, was fought in July 1863 as part of the American Civil War, which was North versus South, Union versus Confederates. And in a nutshell, it was to end slavery in the South and to unify America, but the South didn't want to. They had their way of life and they were going to keep to it. The Battle of Gettysburg is probably remembered as the bloodiest day, and the reason for that is because for casualties and losses, on the Union side, you had 23,049 men killed, and on the and that's like killed and wounded that later succumbed, and you also had on the Confederate side, between 23 to 28,000 estimated. So there were that many, they couldn't even 100% calculate who had actually gone. And it was a lot of fighting. It lasted over 3 days, so from the 1st to the 3rd of July. It lasted over 3 days, and there was over 50,000 people killed. That's not to mention any civilian casualties.
Yeah. And the reason why that was first in comparison, because obviously the other two battles, a lot more people died.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like this one was in one country against each other.
Yeah. So whereas in World War One and World War Two, it was country against country. In this, it could literally be two sides of a family against each other, just depending on where one or the other lived.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, yeah, it was pretty damn bad.
Yeah, and I don't think it swung anything in favour at the end.
No, I don't think it had. I mean,
Did it have a winner?
Technically, I think it was classed as a Union victory, technically, but it was for total 50,000 people and up to 5,000 horses killed as well. It was just no. For the impact it had, it wasn't worth the losses.
No.
I mean, is war ever worth the losses? But it's just, and it was brutal as well, and it was muddy and it was disgusting, and the care that they had afterwards. So the hospitals, they often used houses in the local town and turned them into hospitals. And there were stories of people who were having their limbs hacked off, and there was literally hacking them off, throwing them out the window. So there was a pile of limbs in the back garden.
Yeah.
And it was not good.
But it was epic.
It was epic, but for all the wrong reasons. Okay, so
that was our
gunpowder.
Gunpowder.
So far we've had oolong, dragon well, green tea, and gunpowder tea. So we're going along at a nice.
We're going pretty good. We're going pretty good. What's our next tea? Our
next one is the debate. The Earl Grey tea. Now this one, whereas with the others we've kind of prepared it in advance.
Yeah.
This one we're going to wing it a little bit, so you're going to have to come along with us on a roller coaster of a debate.
I don't actually know who's going to win.
I don't either, because we haven't decided on a winner for this.
We haven't even decided. We haven't even discussed who we're going to pick. I think we both know who we might pick.
Yeah.
So I think you know who my favourite monarchs are, and I think I know who yours are.
Yeah.
But we've got to somehow make the other person
believe it.
Back down, I guess.
So,
let's put your favourite first.
Earl Grey tea, the best monarch.
For Carrie.
My nomination is Alexander the Great.
Nice.
He is one of those ones that he's known. Even if you don't know him, you know the name. Mm-hmm. He was a Greek, technically, to put it really loosely.
Yeah.
But he was born in Macedon, which is now part of Greek area, technically. Now part of Greece. That's the word I was looking for.
Wow.
Yeah. And he was more eloquent than I was.
Fair one.
His father died and his land was under attack, so he decided that he was going to not stand for it and took over them. All of his father's original battles he basically won. He then decided that this wasn't enough. He was a really great military leader. He's going to keep going. He conquered Egypt. He thought, okay, this is cool, I'm going to keep going. He conquered Persia. He thought, okay, this is cool, I'm going to keep going. He made a significant dent into India. At the time of his death, which was in 323 BC, he was the head of one of the largest empires the world had ever seen at that point. And how he consolidated it was by going around and naming places Alexandria after him. And he managed to conquer Egypt, conquer Persia, and secure Macedon by the age of 25.
If you want to feel unaccomplished.
Yeah, if you want to feel inadequate, look at Alexander the Great. It's to this day that people are still using his name. He is still a bar to be measured by. Julius Caesar himself, when he went to Egypt, he looked for his tomb to compare himself to Alexander the Great. All of the subsequent kings and emperors and everything within the area tried to either align themselves to Alexander the Great or compare themselves. He set up one of his generals, Ptolemy. He set up the Ptolemaic dynasty in Egypt, which ended in Cleopatra. as in Cleopatra and Mark Antony fame, because there's about 9 Cleopatras.
The
I think
Cleopatra that
I
we
think
all
we said
know.
it. Yeah, the Cleopatra. And to this day, no one knows where his tomb is.
That's cool.
So he's one of those ones where you know it's going to be a big deal when they find him. They have a rough idea where they think he might be, but it's a big deal when they find him. But he is, as far as monarchs go, he is a household name, and he achieved a lot in a very short time.
You say he achieved a lot, but all he really did, he went to different places and conquered them.
He was a very good military tactician.
Okay.
There were a number of battles, but he also took his men into fights against elephants and conquered them. Bearing in mind, they'd probably never seen an elephant before. And like, what the hell is this mutated horse?
Elephants?
India.
Okay.
And he had this great strategy, and I cannot for the life of me remember what river it was, but there was him and his army on one side, the Persian army on the other side, and there was a big river in between them, and they could ford the river, they could get across, but if they did, they'd be walking straight into the Persian army. So what he did was he took his men a little bit further up, and he lit campfires there, where the river was easier to cross, and he gave the impression like he took some of his men out into the water and brought them back as if they were looking for a safe place to ford, and he had people walking up and down with torches to make it at night to make it look like they were looking for something. The Persians took this and they put all their men there getting ready, thinking Alexander and his men are going to ford across this river, they're going to come at us here, we will be ready for them. He actually, in cover of darkness, moved all of his men to a much easier ford further on down, crossed the river, came up behind them, smashed the army.
So he was good at military techniques.
Yeah, good military tactician, good with foreign policy. His only downfall was that he probably went a bit too far too fast, and he started adopting the customs of some of the other places. So he started adopting Egyptian clothes, Egyptian food, Persian clothes, had a Persian wife. He probably tried a little bit too hard to do the whole hearts and minds thing. Yeah.
That could have been his age.
Could have been. He was young, he was scrappy and hungry.
Yeah.
Don't Hamilton it, Carrie, don't Hamilton it. But, he was very, very ambitious, and it was a good thing at first, but I think his men, after years in the field, just wanted to go home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So your contender, Alexander the Great, that was good.
Indeed.
Well, my contender, probably no guesses to you, or any of our listeners if they listen to us.
It could be one of two, I think.
Yes. And I definitely think I know where you're going because they're related.
Mm.
They are
both historical babes.
They are.
There genuinely is records of them being very, very handsome men.
Yeah, not just because they were played by Max Irons and or
Jonathan Rhys-Meyers.
So yeah, my two bays are usually Edward IV and Henry VIII.
Okay, so which one is your best?
I'm going with Henry VIII.
Okay.
He is what I'm going to say. He is the one. And obviously, you know Henry VIII. He is a household name.
Yes.
Most people only know him from the 6 Wives, 2 beheaded, all that jazz.
Divorced, beheaded, died. Divorced, beheaded, survived.
Yeah, that now infamous musical called 6.
Yep.
But that's not why I've picked him.
Okay.
You've got to actually look at everything else.
Mm-hmm.
To start off with, he wasn't supposed to be king. Okay. So he didn't necessarily have the same training, the same education as much as his brother Arthur. He was still well educated. He spoke many different languages. He was really fit. He was really sporty. He was really clever. He was a musician. He wrote music. Greensleeves, hello. I know it's contested.
I didn't even need to say anything, I just needed to breathe in.
Yeah, I know. But then if you look at his rule,
mm-hmm.
Yes, the dissolution of the monasteries and breaking away from the Catholic Church, from the Pope, it wasn't great at the time, but if you think about the change that had,
I mean,
he created his own church. He was the head of the Church of England, C of E. The majority of our religion now in this country is C of E. I'm C of E.
And he paved the way for later things like the Puritan Revolt and the Civil War. And, we went to a lecture with David Starkey, who said that it was basically the first Brexit. Which it was.
It was. And then the Field of the Cloth of Gold.
That was, in the nicest possible way, that was just a giant dick slinging contest.
Wasn't it?
Between England and France.
Mm-hmm.
With a little bit of a swing from Spain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, he was so good at military stuff. And I'd love to have known what happened if he hadn't have had that jousting accident. Because he did hit his head and that changed his personality. There's so much written about how fun-loving and happy and jolly and an amazing husband he was before that. But then as soon as that happened, his entire personality changed.
I mean, there's a lot going on about like how he treated his wives, how he treated his kids.
Mm-hmm.
But when Elizabeth was going to be born, and he had everything saying the royal prince, and then as soon as she was born, he just added an S to everything, and he was still really happy. He was still a great father.
Mm-hmm.
He just took a bonk to the head.
Yeah, and he advanced. He was very much into medicine.
Mm-hmm.
He made a lot of home remedies himself because he was very clever. So he made it important for people to see the importance of looking after oneself, eating the right things, listening to your physician.
He advanced music
did.
plays, something that then his children took forward.
Yeah, obviously, because...
with a blip for Mary.
Yeah, And like Elizabeth loved music.
We went into a golden age with Elizabeth of arts and literature and,
Shakespeare.
Yeah, enough said.
Yeah. And that is Henry VIII's daughter.
Yeah.
Yes, he wanted a son. And I know you can sometimes think that maybe he went a bit crazy for that. But that was the thing. Women were lesser. Massively back then.
I mean, yeah, we can look at it back at it now and say he was mistreating them, he was horrible. But the belief was that the sex of the child was determined by the woman.
Yeah.
It was the woman's fault. It was what was believed. It wasn't just what was believed, it what was known back then. And the pressure on him to have a child and secure the dynasty, because his father had essentially usurped the throne from someone who had usurped the throne. His claim was tenuous at best.
Yeah, there was a lot more people with a lot more stake to the claim to the throne of England.
Yeah. I mean,
Richard
he had that
III.
whole thing with Buckingham.
Richard III had a very weak claim. Henry VII had an even weaker claim.
Yeah. Henry VII was descended through a bastard line that were only legitimised because they had made the promise that they would never take the throne. So what did they do? They took the throne.
Margaret Beaufort, but we won't talk about her.
No.
But and also he changed the rules of the lines of succession, which is why Mary was able to be queen, which is why Elizabeth was able to be queen. But bearing in mind he probably didn't think that there would ever be a need, because he didn't expect Edward to die at 15, but still.
No. But pre-Anne Boleyn, he was a very staunch defender of the Catholic faith.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote multiple pamphlets, incredibly eloquently defending the faith, to the point where he actually got the title from the Pope, Defender of the Faith, because of what he'd done. You know, he was a published author, a musician, a sportsman, a statesman. He was pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm.
And until he started to get a gammy leg, pretty damn fine.
He was very good looking.
He had the Plantagenet blood, the temper as well, but the Plantagenet blood.
Yeah, that's why I think, even though Edward obviously, not Edward, Richard lost, that bloodline didn't.
Yeah, the bloodline carried on through Elizabeth.
Yeah. And I think the Plantagenets were more on the throne than the Tudors, if that makes... If you think of it with mannerisms, Henry VIII was so much like Edward IV. Like...
Even in his appetites, like his first appetites. And I think part of the thing that scuppered him is the fact that he was never meant to be king, Arthur was.
Yeah.
And because of that, he was a little bit spoiled. He was allowed to do what he wanted. He wasn't really told no.
Because he grew up with his mum. He grew up with the women of the household.
He was doted on by his mum and his grandmother. He was spoiled.
Yeah, because he didn't need to learn everything that Arthur needed to.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if Arthur hadn't died and him and Catherine of Aragon?
If they'd had kids.
If they'd just ruled.
What if Henry had met Anne Boleyn and married her in his own time, with his own thing, with very little pressure?
He also had very similar personality traits as Prince Harry.
Yeah, Prince Harry now is a mixture between young Henry V before he was king and Henry VIII. 100%.
So that's why I'm sticking Henry VIII.
Okay.
So now, how are we going to decide who's better? Alexander the Great or Henry VIII?
Potential third candidate for you.
Okay. Do you think we can agree on this one?
Possibly.
Okay, cool.
Possibly. Because this person essentially ended a conflict for a while. The conflict then continued on after their death, but unfortunately they did end a severe conflict within our country, and it was a time of turmoil, and it was a time of two factions against each other. And now I can see you trying to figure out who I'm going to say because it could apply to two different monarchs. It was someone who restored an era of peace and prosperity to the country. And yeah, there were blips. There were always going to be blips. But it's someone who saw England be England again. I'm going to say the Merry Monarch Charles II.
Carrie, yes.
Because yes, he had blips. We got the whole Fire of London, the plague. He wasn't the most loyal of monarchs, but during his time there was peace.
The Fire of London and the Great Plague aren't his fault. He didn't create those.
But the fact that he then grabbed a bucket and was there helping put out the fire, I mean, how many others would have done that, really?
No.
Best one in the world. Henry VIII probably wouldn't. He would have run.
Yeah, he did run away. He didn't want to die. He never wanted to be ill. He stayed away from it. Like when Anne Boleyn thought she had the sweating sickness, he
sent her away.
He was like, "You leave. I love you, but leave."
Yep. But Charles was there. He encouraged the return of plays and sport. He even starred in a couple of amateur productions himself.
Christmas.
He was instrumental in the beginning of, if you've ever seen the film Stage Beauty. He was instrumental in the beginning of women in theatre. Yeah. Because up until that point, male parts have been played, or female parts have been played by men. But no, he instigated or was overseeing the instigation of that movement. So he restored the monarchy, part of the Stuart line. He restored a religious tolerance in the country. He oversaw the end of things like there were still witch trials ongoing, but he saw the end of the worst of it. He brought back basically rationality and learning to the common people that Cromwell and his cronies had just taken away. He restored happiness, which is always a good thing. Unfortunately, because he never had any legitimate children, because he often played away, and like Henry VIII, he thought with his downstairs brain a lot. Because of that, there was the succession crisis afterwards, and then his brother took over, who was then usurped by his own children. So yeah, that was a little bit of a and it was his niece Anne that then saw the end of the Stuart dynasty and the start of the Hanoverian dynasty. But I think Charles would be a good one. It was a very close call for a second there, as I was saying it, between Edward and Charles. Yeah. But Edward did cause more problems than he solved sometimes.
Yes. Yeah. For a second, for literally the minusculest second, some of the things you were saying, until I remembered who you were, I was like, is she gonna fucking say Oliver Cromwell?
No.
Just for a second. And then I was like, no, it's Carrie.
I would take the pen in my hand and drive it into my eye first.
But he also dug up Oliver Cromwell's body and hung it up.
Yes, but you can probably forgive him for a little bit of petty revenge.
And he got his dad's head and put it, like, he dug up his dad, put the head back on and put it back down again.
Exactly. So...
But, I mean, for me, he brought back Christmas. He brought back life. If you're going to think about, if we're going to, like, simplify it, we could say that under Oliver Cromwell, England was painted black and white. Yeah. He made it colourful again.
Yeah. He made it Britain again.
Mm-hmm. Well, his niece made Great Britain.
And
she united the kingdom.
And whilst very sad as well.
Yeah.
But whilst our Irish cousins might not necessarily have a lot of love for England, totally justified, they have a lot less love for Cromwell than they do for Charles.
Yeah, I think everyone does.
Yeah. Except the Puritans. Puritans still love him.
But so are we saying, though, that Charles II is better than Alexander the Great and Henry VIII? That is what we're saying.
Alexander the Great, whilst I think he was inspirational and motivational and an all-round badass, he was a very, very long time ago and was a product of his time. Would he have been able to achieve as much nowadays? I don't know.
But that's why I asked you, like, what else he did. Like, what do we know? What else did Alexander the Great do rather than conquer places?
Let me do an episode on him and I'll tell you.
We will definitely do an episode on Alexander the Great. But that's why I asked that question.
Yeah.
Because with Henry VIII, you can say, what else did he do?
Yeah.
He got England away from the monarchy. From the
church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
were getting a little bit too big for their boots, to be honest with you. And whilst Alexander, there was that religious thing all around at the time, everyone was pretty much polytheistic, and with a few exceptions, he did unite Greece, Egypt, Persia, and parts of India. Yes, through conquering, admittedly, but as well as conquering, he also embraced those cultures and celebrated those cultures. So he conquered, he didn't colonialise. There's a difference.
I feel that maybe Charles II would be a good winner for the fact that it's one that we both agree on.
Yeah.
But I would still... Henry VIII is still... it has to be up there.
Shall we say then, instead of 1, 2, 3, we have joint runners up?
Okay. We have Hampton Court Palace because of Henry VIII.
Yes. But Christmas.
Okay.
Mince pies on Christmas Day.
And mulled wine. And makeup.
And theatre. Theatre's kind of important to you right now.
Yes, theatre is important.
If it wasn't for Charles II, you would not be on the stage.
Okay, I can go.
Okay. If you think we're wrong, though...
Yeah, let us know. And if you've got someone you want to add to it...
Yeah. So you can either email us, cupofhistory@outlook.com. You can go to basically anywhere our handle is Cup of History.
Yeah, so Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, @cupofhistory.
Yeah, just let us know. If you agree, or if you want to throw someone else in there, we could always have another one for next year.
We could, definitely.
We could indeed. So, for now, our
Earl
Earl Grey goes to King Charles II.
The King of Bling. I had to.
Fair, you know what? I'll give you that one. So, now...
Okay.
We're going over to the dark side.
Oh, we're leaving.
Something, dark side. Now, because we also do the Dark Cup of History,
yep,
we've got a couple of Dark Cup Awards.
Nice.
So, our very first one being black tea, because it's, like, generically dark, but also delicious.
I don't know, I can't drink dark tea. I have to have milk in mine.
See, I like black tea because there's a depth to it, and there's always a depth to this. Thank you. Thank you. Our Black Tea Award goes to the most haunted place.
Right, this is a lot of, especially at the minute, haunted shows and ghost hunts and stuff have become very popular.
Well, if you think there's been a lot of people who've had to spend a lot of time at home and they've noticed things that are happening around the house, or they're having more time to look at their CCTV, and there has been a massive spike in interest in the paranormal. Yeah,
so we had a plethora of places to choose from.
We did, and there are some that we may come back to in Dark Cup episodes later on down the line. We had in total about 10 different places to choose from.
Yeah.
So we've gone for 2 places, one in America, one in England, and then a place that's kind of a collection of haunted objects rather than a haunted place.
That's one, and we have to give an honourable mention to somebody else. But we'll do that when we come to that.
We'll do that when we...
Carrie.
So,
who is in a runner-up/third position?
Runner-up/third position is the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. And this is located in West Virginia, in America. And it is one of those things, it's sad. It's a tragic, tragic place that had, as many of these asylums and sanitariums in America do, it started off as a good thing that just went horribly, horribly, horribly wrong.
Because it was run by people who didn't really understand how to make it better.
Well, originally, when it was constructed, it was meant to hold 250 patients. By the end, when it closed down, there were over 2,400 in there. They used to have things like ice baths or hydrotherapy and electroshock therapy, and one of the doctors was known to have carried out over 228 ice pick lobotomies in their basement. And if you're unsure of what a lobotomy is, just as a very, very, very loose way of doing it, he would basically get an ice pick and a small hammer to drive it in, and he would usually go in through the top of the eye into the brain. And the idea was that they could stop the more violent aspects of a psychosis or other kind of mental illness just by tapping part of the frontal lobe. What it could also cause is a basic persistent vegetative state. This is from the era that they used to think that bathing you in ice cold water would help stop certain tendencies as well, and that people being hysterical was believed to be a thing that only women could do, and the best way to basically stop a woman being hysterical was, pardon my French, to wank her off. Basically, they would stimulate the woman to orgasm to stop her being hysterical.
Yeah, and it was horrendous.
There was so much mistreatment. Yeah,
if you want to kind of see some of those, the things Carrie just said, there's a Netflix series called Ratched, which was written by Ryan Murphy, who did Glee, and it's based in an asylum, and they do all of those things: lobotomy, the hydrotherapy, hot baths, cold baths, blah blah blah. It's a really good series.
And if you want to learn more about Trans-Allegheny as a place in itself, there is another podcast, and to be honest with you, it doesn't need a plug. It's a very popular one. It's called Lore by Aaron Menke, and he looks a lot into folklore and urban legends, and he does an episode dedicated to Trans-Allegheny. And there are a number of ghost hunt shows that also do that as well.
It is a very, very haunted place, obviously.
It is. There's like previous patients, previous nurses. The doctor that does the lobotomies is supposedly still in the basement. And some of the things they get are incredibly creepy, and the atmosphere is just awful.
Yeah. Destination Fear, right?
Destination Fear, I think...
Because I'm pretty sure we've watched... Because when you said the asylum, I said it in their stupid... The Trans-Allegheny...
Yeah, whenever they read out where they're going, they always say it as if they're absolutely surprised as they're pulling it out. It's like, Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum?
Yeah, and it really does my nose.
Yeah. But the rest of the show is great.
Yeah, we love it.
We do love it.
But yeah, so that is one, and it's horrendous, and I kind of do and don't want to go.
I want to go to knock it off my bucket list, but I will not go anywhere in there alone.
No.
Absolutely not. Not on your Nelly. Not on your Nelly. If you paid me $1 million, it would not happen.
No.
Number 2, with a total of 13 ghosts known, some sounds and other things not known.
And a bear,
including the ghost of a bear, monks' feet slapping on the floor with sandals, and the procession of the execution team of Anne Boleyn. It is, of course, the Tower of London.
Yeah, that, I would assume that is very much a haunted place.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I mean, they have their own, there's a couple of people that live there that have their own TikTok pages, and they will talk about ghostly experiences and everything there. You're not allowed to do a ghost investigation there. You have to get special permission because it is still a royal palace.
Yeah.
However, there is a lot there. Yeah. And considering how many people were executed there, including most recently within the last century by firing squad, it's understandable.
Yeah, definitely.
And they even have a ghost of a thing called the Nameless Thing that follows people
around.
Like
Liam said, the Nameless Thing gives it a name.
Well, yes. But also, what a name.
Isn't it?
The Nameless Thing.
Right, so our winner, we have to give a shout out to Mr. Liam Mandy, who is half of the Manic podcast.
Two ends,
very important. As we were discussing, he stayed over mine last night, and we were discussing these, and this is one we hadn't actually brought to the table.
Because we were looking at haunted places, but not the reasons why they were haunted, I think.
Yeah, so this is his suggestion, which we agree is the best one. So well done, Liam. The winner of the
black tea
is
the Warren House and Museum.
Yes.
So those of you who have listened to our Dark Cup of Histortea podcast before will know that our very first Dark Cup episode was about Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Called In High Spirits.
And they would go around and they would investigate and
ghost
try and
hunters,
help. Yeah, basically ghost hunters. But they would also collect haunted objects, including
cursed objects.
Yeah, cursed objects, including Annabelle the doll.
Yes.
And they kept them all in their home in a museum. And considering everything in that museum is allegedly haunted or cursed, I'd say that's a pretty haunted place.
Yeah, they've got like 500 plus objects.
Yeah, they have it blessed regularly. They have different kind of precautions.
If you have a museum that you have to have a priest come in daily to bless it, that's not an okay building.
Yeah. And to have it as part of their home as well.
Yeah, and to have a doll locked in a cabinet that has to have
blessings and tarot cards and protections and rosary beads around it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's fairly safe to say that whilst maybe not originally haunted, the Warren house is pretty much haunted now.
Yeah, they've brought upon themselves.
Yeah, it would be, if that door was left unlocked, it would be chaos.
I mean, you've seen the movies. It is chaos.
Yeah, it is, to be fair. So, our Black Tea Award goes to Ed and Lorraine Warren and their cosy little home. Yeah.
Fabulous.
So, keeping in the kind of cursed objects and things, our next award is the Chai Tea Award.
Yes.
This is because chai tea is spiced tea, it's like dark spiced tea, so it's tea with a little bit thrown in. And that's why...
A little bit something.
That's why it is the scariest urban legend. Because an urban legend may start out as an original story and then it grows into something worse by things being added in. A little bit of spice, like our chai tea.
Yes.
So, I've done the research for this.
Yeah, you're the folklore thingy person.
Yeah, I have an unhealthy obsession with it.
Yeah.
So, the three that we have for this are... The first one is the Vanishing Hitchhiker. So, the Vanishing Hitchhiker is not just... It's not for one local area. There's multiple areas that have it. And the idea is that you're driving along and it's usually a woman.
Okay.
You'll see this hitchhiker on the side of the road. If you're a nice charitable person, you'll pull over, you'll give them a lift. They'll say, oh yeah, I'll go down here, they'll give you directions. You start driving, halfway down the drive, something happens, or there's a mist rolls in, or your car conks out, or something like that, and you turn around and they're gone. They're not there. There's no one in the car.
Not a fan of that.
The door doesn't open, your doors are locked, you hear nobody get in, nobody get out, except for this one person, but they are gone. You keep driving down the road, you pull up at their house, and this is the place they said that they lived. You knock on the door and say, this might sound really weird, but, and they'll be like, you've had a hitchhiker? Yes. Did they look like this? Yes. We've heard this story before. There used to be someone that lived here that was killed down that road.
Creepy.
It happens a lot, and it is quite a common one, and as I say, it is most often women. And Supernatural, the TV show, their very first episode, The Woman in White, was basically a ghostly hitchhiker story.
Yeah.
So it's very, very prevalent, particularly in America. It is strongest in America, but it is a very prevalent thing.
We've also done an episode on women in white.
We have indeed.
And red.
Yep. So, just be careful next time you pick up a hitchhiker. It's 50-50. I mean, they could be a perfectly decent person, you could meet them, get on with them, meet an entirely new life story. Or they could be a ghost or a serial killer.
So don't.
Yeah. So, number 2. Now this, I've kind of mixed two together because they are very, very similar. But you've got the legend of Bloody Mary / Candyman. And the idea is that you have this haunted spirit and you're not entirely sure where they come from. There's different origin stories. But the notion is that you would go, and it's usually kids in a party, isn't it? You go in the mirror in a dark bathroom holding a candle, and either you turn 3 times or you just look in the mirror and say it, and you would say Bloody Mary 3 times or Candyman 5 times. They would then appear and kill you and everyone you love.
Yeah, like why you'd want to even try that, I don't know.
I don't know, but it seems to be a thing like kids and sleepovers.
Season 1 of Supernatural, they did that. They did a Bloody Mary episode.
Yeah, they did Bloody Mary. I think they've done Candyman as well with all the bees and everything. And yeah, there's a lot of folklore out about those two, and there's a lot of different origin stories. Some even say that Bloody Mary actually relates back to Mary I of England, whose nickname was Bloody Mary. Whether or not she actually stood in front of a mirror and decided she was going to kill people, I don't know. But if you're going to do it, my thing would be don't.
Just don't.
Just don't.
End of.
Because
goodbye.
Even if it isn't true, if there's no grounding in it whatsoever, the power of suggestion is a terrible thing.
Yeah.
And you could start to see things, you could start to have anxiety attacks, panic attacks, it could have an effect on your heart. Just, if you're going to do it, disclaimer, we were told you not to.
Yeah, we have warned you.
The winner. And this is one that you would absolutely hate.
I just remembered what it was.
Yep. You
just fucking remember what it was. Right, so the winner of the Chai Tea Award is...
We don't have a clown statue.
Oh, why is it always clowns?
Yeah, M has coulrophobia, so she's terrified of clowns.
Why?
Yeah, this is a story, and it's one of those ones where babysitters at home, you know how it normally starts. And there's two different versions of it. One of it where it's in the children's bedroom, but I'm going to tell the one that I heard.
Yeah.
Where there's a babysitter at home and she's tucked the kids up in bed, and she's been asked by the family to stick to like one specific room, like the games room, and watch TV in there so she doesn't disturb anything in the living room. And she's like, halfway through watching, she gets a call from the parents, and the parents are like, "Oh, hey, how are the kids doing?" She's like, "Yeah, the kids are fine. They're fast asleep. There's not a problem. However, do you mind if I move from this room into the living room because your clown statue is freaking me out?" And the dad goes, "Can you just go and wake up the kids and take them next door? And when they get next door, call the police." And she said, "Why?" And he said, "We don't have a clown statue."
Nuh-uh. Nope.
Yeah, in the other version, she tucks the kids into bed and tells them to sleep, and then when the parents call in, she's like, "Yeah, but that clown statue in their bedroom is freaky." And they're like, "Yeah, we don't have a clown statue."
Why clowns? Why?
I don't know.
Why?
Clowns have...
Why?
I think it's because of the paint and everything on their face. You don't see their full emotions. They're hiding. It's a common fear. It's a common phobia.
Yeah, why I don't like them is because every single thing about them is to hide who they are. Like, their shoes are too big. Their outfits are too big.
Yeah.
Their hair is different. They wear wigs. Their makeup. Every single thing about them is to hide who they are. You have no idea who could be underneath that.
Yeah. But if you are in a place and they have a clown statue, make sure that all the lights are on, you have your phone near you, and whilst there are other people in the room, ask to make sure that it definitely is a clown statue.
Or run away.
Or just don't have a clown statue.
Or if there's a clown statue and you think it's a clown statue, get a knife and just stab the statue. If it's a statue, it won't hurt. If it's a person, they won't kill you.
It's best to ask forgiveness than permission in that situation. You know, would you rather explain a broken clown statue and, you know, save children, or the alternative?
Exactly.
To all of our listeners out there who might be clowns, we have nothing personally against you. Just, you know, don't stand in the corner of people's rooms and freak them out.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't be that guy.
So yeah, our Chai Tea Award goes to... We do not have a clown statue.
Yep.
I'm not doing the post.
No, we will not do the post because we are aware that coulrophobia is a debilitating fear, so we will not be putting the clown in the post. You have our word.
Well, I'm doing the post, so no.
Fair. Now, one last Dark Cup one.
Ooh.
And this is a Dark Cup person award. This is the fermented tea award.
Yeah. And horrible, disgusting, wouldn't want to taste, evil, bleh.
And yet still an acquired taste to some people. This is history's biggest villain.
Yes.
Now, we know that there are a couple of people that immediately spring to mind. So we tried to sort of show it out a little bit, give a little bit of scope to it.
Yeah.
So for this, we have a person who is an overall villain because of what they were involved in.
Mm-hmm.
A person who is a villain because of what they did. And a villainous animal.
Yeah.
That caused a lot of trouble.
Cool.
So, should we start off with the animal first?
Yeah, the comic relief.
Yeah, the comic relief before it gets a little bit dark. So, our little animal,
or big animal,
yeah, it's a doozy. For those of you that may have heard, this is Mrs. O'Leary's cow. Now, Mrs. Catherine O'Leary, she basically lived in Chicago in around 1871, and anyone that knows anything of the history of Chicago around 1871 may already know of Mrs. O'Leary's cow. Legend has it that
Mrs. O'Leary's cow.
That one day while she was milking, the cow wasn't particularly happy with what was happening, kicked its leg back, kicked a lamp over, lamp hit the hay started a fire, and then we had the Great Chicago Fire of 1871, where an estimated 300 people died. So it is a cow with a body count. That is why our cow, Mrs. O'Leary's cow, is in third place for the fermented tea history's biggest villain.
And I think it's warranted.
Yep.
That cow killed a lot of people.
Killed 300 people. I mean, admittedly indirectly, but it was still the responsibility of the cow.
Yeah, the cow is a murderer. Bad cow. What happened to the cow? Did they put the cow down?
I don't know. I think the cow may have been...
Because if it was a dog, that dog would have been put down.
Depends whether... I don't know if it was ever... It's never 100% confirmed. It's kind of like this is believed how it started.
Mrs. O'Leary's cow. Get away with murder.
I mean, if the cow was in the barn when it burnt...
Steak.
Yep. Would have been slightly well done though.
Oh, who's second?
Okay, we're going to go serious now.
Yeah, very.
Our second nominee is someone who is responsible directly for what's happened. And it is Pedro Alonso Lopez.
Pedro Lopez.
Yeah. He is a Colombian serial killer. As far as I'm aware, still alive. Apprehended in 1980 to serve his prison sentence. And he's actually... Well... he's responsible for killing, murdering over 350 victims across Colombia. Mainly girls. He was a child molester and a necrophile. So basically someone who committed necrophilia, which is sexual acts with a dead body. And in between 1969 to 1980, he is known to have murdered at least 110 young girls. He was found to be criminally insane, and he was put into an asylum in 1980 when he was apprehended, and he was released from the Colombian asylum in 1998, and currently his whereabouts are unknown. But it's believed that he's still incarcerated, but nobody entirely knows where. Okay,
I was literally like, he's just wandering the streets.
For serial killer fans, you may know him as the Monster of the Andes.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was incarcerated in an asylum, and then he was released from that asylum in 1998, and at the moment nobody entirely knows where he is, which is probably for his own safety as well as others.
Probably.
But yeah, with a body count of potentially 350, the Monster of the Andes, Pedro Lopez, is number 2.
Yeah. Now our winner, we had lots of debate on this, because there's lots and lots of bad dudes that have been in charge of countries that have done bad things.
Pol Pot, Stalin, for example.
Yep. And then you got other guys, heads of certain religious groups.
Charles Manson.
Yep. And we have to say Osama bin Laden.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously horrendous, horrible people that have done some despicable things. But our winner,
for the sheer volume,
is probably the first person that came to your minds.
Mm-hmm.
The winner of the fermented tea,
Adolf Hitler.
Has to be Hitler.
Yeah.
Has to be. He is the worst of the worst.
Yeah, I mean, everyone spouts 6 million Jews, but yes, in total there were over 11 million people killed in concentration camps, not to mention all the people, the civilians and the soldiers that were killed on both sides. So we're holding him responsible for killing his own people as well.
He did.
On both sides within the Second World War.
Yeah.
And surrounding.
It's because of the Second World War. Yeah, he's just the worst of the worst of the worst of the worst.
Yeah. He's evil.
He was.
Pure evil.
Pure evil. And a coward.
Yeah. I mean, fascinating historical figure.
Yeah.
Because of the choices that he made. Doesn't make him any less evil.
Mm-hmm. No, God, no.
But, yeah. That's why he's our number 1. And I think anybody... Firstly, if you don't know who Hitler is, please find out. You need to know. You should know.
Yeah.
If you don't know, what are you doing with your life? You need to know.
We must never forget.
Yeah, we can't forget. Not just because of his important historical figure you need to know. We need to know what he did so we don't let it happen again. Yeah. But if you know, then you know why we chose him.
I find it crazy to think that, like, everything he did is so abhorrent, and the things that we've spoken about that happened in, like, 1800s or further back, that, like, this happened. This was allowed to happen in my grandparents' time.
Yeah. And because of the policy of appeasement that we had, it was allowed to happen.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't until it got to the stage where we thought, you know what, no, this is not good. This is not good.
Yeah,
and it wasn't because of what he was doing to people. It was because he invaded Poland that we went to war. Not because of what he was doing to the people. That was later cited as a reason. I think it's also because
people didn't believe or didn't want to believe what he was actually doing to people.
And the fact that there are people out there now that still contest that the Holocaust was ever a thing.
Oh.
I mean, there's a movement out there that says that ancient Rome wasn't real. You know, you've got the Flat Earth Society, that dinosaurs weren't real. Whatever. I can't categorically turn around and say to you, aside from taking you to a museum and showing you a dinosaur skull, or taking you to the Roman ruins of the Colosseum, I can't turn around to you and say, yes, 100%, we have actual people that have seen these things that know it's true. But we do for Hitler. We know, we have Holocaust survivors. We know it was real.
Yeah.
So how people can say that, I just want to slap them.
No. So we don't need to go into massive depths. You know who Hitler is, and he is the worst of the worst of the worst.
Yeah, so you know why.
Yes.
Speaking of what you know and what you don't know.
Okay.
It's time for our reward that we put out to you, the public.
What a segue, Carrie!
I know, right? It's almost like I do radio in my spare time sometimes. Yeah, so we decided that it shouldn't all be on us. It shouldn't all be our decision. You guys have as much of an input as we do. Mm-hmm. You, after all, helped to make the history.
You did.
So we gave you the Peasant's Choice Award, aka Yorkshire Tea. Because we were thinking of a tea that pretty much everybody knows of, everybody drinks, and it was between that, Tetley's and PG Tips.
I love PG Tips.
Yeah, so Em wouldn't allow PG Tips to be the peasant's choice, so we went for Yorkshire Tea. Sorry, Yorkshire. I actually do quite like Yorkshire Tea. So yeah, that's the Peasant's Choice Award. And we had a number of different nominees. So we're hoping that after this set of awards, you guys will be a little bit more interactive. And if you think that someone else should have deserved the award more, then please let us know.
Yes, we had quite a few responses. We have. Fabulously.
So we're going to give a couple of honourable mentions.
Yeah.
So we've had, for example, we had Nelson Mandela, we had Winston Churchill, we had Mahatma Gandhi, who are all very important historical figures. Surprisingly, we had one who's still alive, Sir David Attenborough.
Totally get that.
100%. He is a national treasure. He's a global treasure. For what he's done for the natural world, he's a global treasure.
He's just a dude.
And, I mean, the thing is, I would love to say that I want to meet him, I want to shake his hand, but I did with Steve Irwin, I did with Alan Rickman, and we know what happened with those.
Don't say it, Carrie.
I'm not going to say it. I never ever want to meet Sir David Attenborough.
Good.
Never.
Never ever.
But genuinely, the man is incredible. Absolutely incredible. And we've also had, as honourable mentions, from a couple of people at work that decided to chip in. We've had Henry VIII.
Yes.
Because of the impact that he had on religion in the country.
Thank you.
And David Attenborough. We've also had William Shakespeare from Kevin, because of what he did with the English language.
Yep.
We've had Edward Teach, aka Blackbeard.
I don't know
from my friend Mark.
I don't know whether he's big enough to be an award winner.
Well, he helped to set up the pirate democracy at Nassau. He was part of the massive pirate rebellion against the English Navy, against the Dutch and the Spanish and the French. He is one of the most recognisable pirate figures of all time, so he is well known. He also fought against the notion of slavery. He was very much against it, and for pirate democracy.
Okay.
So he had a bit of an impact.
He can be there.
We also had, and very, very poignant at the moment considering everything that's going on politically, Alan Turing.
Definitely.
For those of you that don't know, Turing's law, Alan Turing was the man who basically helped to crack the Enigma code. Without him, Second World War would have gone on a lot longer.
Yeah.
He helped us to win. Unfortunately, though, he was a homosexual. And because of that, he was mistreated. A lot of his work was underplayed. The credit was given to others. And he underwent a thing called chemical castration, where he was given various chemicals to try and stop him from having the sexual urges that he did, because it was considered wrong and it was illegal. This unfortunately led to his death. And he was just a very, very troubled man. If you ever get a chance, The Imitation Game with Benedict Cumberbatch, an incredible film. That is the story of Alan Turing and his struggle. Obviously, it was kind of dramatised for Hollywood, but there is a lot of it that tells you about him. And just recently, it has been realised that it's wrong to make homosexuality legal. Duh. But there were a lot of people who were tried and were either chemically castrated or arrested, imprisoned, even killed, like executed, for the crime of simply loving who they loved. And Turing's law came in to try and give posthumous pardons for that. It's not perfect. It's posthumous pardons for only a set number of crimes, but they are still a pardon. So it's a start. So Alan Turing was one.
Yep.
But the last two that we were given is the reason we're giving this award to this movement rather than these people.
Yeah, because we didn't have anybody say the same person, so it's not like we could have. I mean, if we had more time, we could have put them out and got people to vote.
Yeah, as a poll.
Yeah, but we didn't. But two people said two different people from the same movement.
So instead of giving it individually, we're giving it to the entire movement. So the Yorkshire Tea / People's Choice Award goes to the suffragette movement.
Yes.
The nominations we had were Emmeline Pankhurst and Emily Davidson.
Yep, Emmeline Pankhurst being the figurehead, the leader of the suffragettes.
And Emily Davidson, most notably known for her actions at the racecourse, where she either got herself caught and fell under, or threw herself under, depending on which story you believe, under the king's horse at the race, and died trying to pin a rosette onto the horse for women's suffrage.
Yeah.
Suffrage being the woman's right to vote.
Yeah.
And whilst the vote did come in initially in 1918, it wasn't until the 1920s that all women got the right to vote.
You had to be over 30 and own a house.
Yeah.
To be able to vote.
Yeah. So it's very, very limited, but it was the first step to give women equality. And whilst it is a battle that we are still fighting at the moment, it's one that we would not be where we are now without those women. And some men as well. Men did support it. So to everyone within the suffragette movement, all we can say is thank you, and it's a well-deserved award.
Yeah, and I always vote.
Mm-hmm.
Since I was 18 and was able to vote, I've always made a point of voting for somebody because of them.
Yeah.
Like, and when I have people say, like, oh, I'm not going to vote, and I'm like, you're a woman. Women literally died.
Yeah, they went on hunger strike. They were abused.
They were forcibly fed through their noses.
Yeah, they were battered, they were beaten and killed because they wanted women to vote.
So the least you can do is read a couple of posts, decide who you agree with the most, and go and vote. It doesn't take that long.
No, it doesn't. And you don't have to sit there and read through the full manifesto. No. There are broken down versions. Mm-hmm. There are also websites and companies and newspapers that will actually break it down for you.
Yeah.
So that, so they'll do the reading so that you don't have to.
Or if you don't want to read, ask somebody who does look into it more, just to give you the bare bones of all of them. Don't just go to someone who you know is, like, from our country, a staunch Conservative or a staunch Labour person. Go to someone who can give you the breakdowns from Conservative, Labour, Lib Dem, Green, everything.
Or talk to a couple. For example, you've voted Conservative before.
I have.
I have never voted Conservative in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to the two of us and you get a good idea of why you would, why I wouldn't.
Also, it's good because we are able to talk politics and not fall out.
Yeah. I've never felt the urge to, to beat you over the head. Not about politics, anyway. It's one of those things. Talk to people. It's democracy. Have a debate. Learn about it.
But the least you can do as a woman is to vote.
Absolutely.
So I think the Choice Award for the suffragette movement is very well done. Well done, our listeners. I'm proud of you all. You've chosen well. You have chosen well.
So, we're nearly at the end of our Histortea Awards.
Yep.
We hope you've enjoyed this little journey with us, and hopefully we'll be a lot more polished and have a lot more interesting facts for you next year.
We will
for the next one. But we've got 2 more categories for you.
Ending as we usually do.
Yep. We normally have at the end of our show a ridiculous death or ridiculous survival.
Yep.
Because sometimes history can be a little bit too dark for all that death.
Yes.
So, for our first one, we're going to do a ridiculous survival. And this is the chamomile tea. So, you after this, you kind of need to chill out, so have a cup of chamomile. So, for the Chamomile Tea Awards, our first nominee is the incredible Raymond Holmes.
Yeah.
Now, Roman Holmes he had a mention, and he was a ridiculous survival at the end of our very second episode, Now We're Flying, all about the Battle of Britain.
Yep.
So, what happened with Raymond was he was in the dogfights during the Battle of Britain, which means plane on plane, and he saw a bomber coming in that was going to go heading towards Buckingham Palace way. And as he was going, this other bomber, it sprayed a load of oil on his windscreen. He couldn't really see what he was seeing. When he managed to clear some of it, he realised he was a bit too close, so he flew under him and thought, you know what, I can take this guy's tail out. So he did. He clipped his tail, and as part of that, it damaged his own plane, a Hurricane, and it started to go down. He then jettisoned himself out of it, and as part of it, he came out, but the wind rush was too much. He got slammed against the lid of the cockpit for the Hurricane. Finally managed to come out. The Hurricane itself came down somewhere near Victoria Tube Station in London, and he just basically, he shot out. He jettisoned his parachute, he opened his parachute, but the sheer chaos of what was going on, the explosions and everything, he was whipped back and forth. He started plummeting towards the earth. He was gonna die. As he fell towards someone's back garden. His parachute got caught on the chimney stoke, and as he came down, he landed literally inches away from the bottom of their back garden bin.
So from breaking all of his limbs and everything.
Yeah.
And possibly death.
Literally,
probably death.
Yeah, it would have been death. The speed at which he'd hit the ground, he would be dead in the bottom of their bin. But as it was, he was left dangling with his feet just barely brushing the bottom of their bin.
That is a ridiculous survival.
That is pretty epic, to be fair.
Yep. So number 2, this is kind of a oh my god kind of how survival. But for horrible reasons. Obviously, we talked about before we did Adolf Hitler that he did kill 6 million Jewish people in abhorrent ways, and one of the biggest ways was the gas chambers.
Yeah.
But there was this woman called Gina Turgel, and I am so sorry if I've said that wrong. It's Gena Turgel. Gina Turgel. Yeah. You're normally the one who does the words. Oh, which I could not pronounce.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was herded with hundreds of others into a gas chamber. And I don't know how much you would obviously know, but some people were put into a chamber, and they did just have a wash. Others were gassed to death.
Poisonous gas. But they were told they were stripped naked, all of their belongings were taken to one side, they were told they were going to have a shower.
Yeah.
That's what they believed, and then the door was locked and the gas was switched on.
So this woman was 21 at the time, and she walked into a gas chamber. She walked out of a gas chamber. She was the only one to walk out. She was gassed, but she survived. And she had no idea that the Nazis had tried to kill her until a woman turned to her who was outside and said, "Do you not know what just happened?" So literally she walked into a gas chamber, everyone around her, everyone else was gassed and was sadly killed. She walked out.
But the way they did it was there was steam in there and everything, so it would have looked like a steamy shower. She wouldn't have seen or heard anything.
And she just walked out.
That is... Yeah. There are no words.
That is a ridiculous survival.
100%.
But it's not the winner.
No. The winner is actually genuinely ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous how they survived.
Yeah. So, the winner of the Chamomile Tea Award is...
Arthur John Priest, aka the Unsinkable Stoker.
Yes.
Now, Arthur John Priest, he was an Englishman. He was a fireman and a stoker. So, ships back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, they would be steamships.
Yeah.
So they'd have boilers that you'd have to stoke, and people would put coal in them. They'd stoke the boilers, keep them going. That was his job. His first, he's known for a couple, and he started most notably on the HMHS Asturias in 1907. Everything was going fine, perfectly fine, until the Asturias sank. But he survived.
Yay!
He then went on to the RMS Olympic in 1911, which sank.
Oh.
And he survived.
Yay!
The next one, the name's a little bit of a spoiler. He went on to the RMS Titanic in 1912. Spoilers, it sank. But he survived.
Hey!
He then went on to the RMS Alcantara in 1916. And it sank.
Oh.
And he survived.
Yay!
He then went on to the HMHS Britannic in 1916. Also sank. He survived.
At this point, I'd stop putting this dude on a boat.
Yeah. He then went on to the SS Donegal in 1917. And basically, every single ship, 5 ships in total he was on, and 5 of them sank. And the others had bad accidents that nearly sank but didn't quite. And he was unsinkable. He actually got a reputation as the unsinkable stoker.
No.
So, how did he die?
How did he die, Carrie?
In 1937, in his home in Southampton at the age of 49, with his wife by his side, of pneumonia. He survived 5 ships sinking, the most notable being the Titanic.
Yeah.
And he died of pneumonia at the age of 49.
If you want to hear more in depth about him, you can listen to his He's Our Ridiculous Survival on our episode of the Titanic. It's so long, it could almost be Titanic.
Yeah. He does also, and another horrible histories mention, he is also featured on the Stupid Deaths thing in Horrible Histories, where he's literally like, and the ship sank, and Death's like, did you die? He's like, I survived! And you can see Death going, what on earth is happening here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to think that there was some, and Terry Pratchett reference, some anthropomorphic personification of Death out there that's just going, what on earth? What? How? Why? So, those are our ridiculous survivals.
Yep. So, ending with, as we always do, a ridiculous death, but this is the
defective tea bag. You know when you've got your little caddy of tea bags and you pull one out, and just as you're about to put it in the cup, you realise that this tea bag is split.
Or as you poured the water in,
yeah.
And then you just see tea leaves fly up.
Yeah. Or as you pull it out and you take a sip and just tea leaves everywhere. These are the defective tea bags of history.
All of these, I think, could win.
Yeah, these are people that have taken themselves out of the gene pool in the most ridiculous ways.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and we have actually covered each of them. So, the first one, I think, is probably one that's like, what?
Yeah.
What? And this is Clement Vallandigham. Now, Clement Vallandigham was an American lawyer.
Yeah.
And he was a defence lawyer for someone in a murder case who, he was trying to prove, basically, someone was up for murder for shooting a guy, and he was trying to prove that, no, actually, the guy shot himself. And everyone was saying, no, it's ridiculous. No way could he do that. He couldn't have shot himself. So in order to prove it, he took a gun into the courtroom and tried to demonstrate how the person would shoot himself.
I would say he showed them too well.
Yes, because the gun was loaded and he shot and killed himself.
But the guy got off, so...
Yeah, this is true.
I mean...
It's, yeah,
words fail me.
I genuinely don't know how...
He was a lawyer, he was a scholar, he was a clever man.
It's, yeah. He was a clever man, but the way it happened is so ridiculous. It must have been incredibly traumatic for everybody in the room.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like, check it's not loaded.
Uh-huh.
If you're going to do something like that, check it's not loaded.
Yeah.
So, Clement Vallandigham.
Number
2 is Li Bai. Now, Li Bai, again, we've also covered.
Uh-huh.
And he was also known as Li Bo, an eminent Chinese poet. Some of his poems are some of the most influential in Chinese literature. He was active between 701 to 762 CE/AD, however you want to say it. Very, very good Chinese poet. Also prone to a little bit too much sake.
Yeah.
And one night he decided that he was going to go out on his boat and try and compose a poem, and he was just out in the middle of the lake.
Drunk.
And he was looking at the moon. Yes, he was very, very drunk. And he decided it would be a great idea to try and lean over and hug the moon. But not the actual moon, the reflection of the moon. And he fell in and drowned.
Oh dear, we shouldn't laugh. But
I
what
mean,
an idiot.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just... Yeah. I mean, obviously when you are drunk, everything seems like a good idea.
Yeah, it does.
But not everything is a good idea.
Very much not. So, Carrie, for the last time today, the final award, the defective tea bag, goes to...
Hannah Twinoy, also known as the first British woman knowingly to have been killed by a tiger. Now, we have covered her before because she was a bit of a twit.
Yeah.
She was a barmaid during the 18th century at the White Lion pub in the centre of the English town of Malmesbury in Wiltshire. And there was like a travelling circus, and there was a tiger as part of this travelling circus. And good old Hannah Trenoy thought it would be a really clever idea to provoke the tiger by poking it and taunting it and
Don't
putting a hand
poke
in.
a tiger with a stick.
Don't poke any kind of dangerous animal with a stick.
Why are we
Especially
having...
not one that's been caged.
How do people not know that you're not supposed to poke a tiger with a stick?
Well, she apparently didn't. I mean, in fairness, it might have been the first one she's ever seen, and to her it would look like a big cat. But anyone who's ever provoked a grumpy cat knows it doesn't end well. So imagine that grumpy cat with a couple of 100 pounds of muscle and teeth and claw and a larger appetite. Hannah Trenoy didn't need to imagine, she found out, and unfortunately it led to her death. The tiger mauled her.
Ridiculous.
So, a little bit of philosophy for you. Don't poke an angry tiger.
No? So Hannah, enjoy your award for poking a tiger with a stick.
You are officially our defective teabag.
Wow. That's the award ceremony. Do!
Woo! Yeah!
Should we go? Do you want to go through and say the awards?
Yep, so, quick recap.
The winner of...
The Oolong Award for longest reigning monarch was good old Hanayas of Haripunchai in Thailand for a whopping 80 years. The coolest historical figure, the Dragon Welty Award, goes to Major Digby Tatham Warner for fighting in World War II with an umbrella. I mean, yeah, for being the original Kingsman. The award then for the Green Tea Award for Game Changer went to Edward Jenner for his work with the smallpox vaccine. The award for the most epic battle, the Gunpowder Tea Award, went to the Battle of Gettysburg. No, the song. Gettysburg?
Mm-hmm.
Gettysburg, that was it. Sorry. It's a long episode. Right. The one for the best monarch, the Earl Grey Award, went to King Charles II. By oddly unanimous decision and slight debate. The Black Tea Award for the most haunted place ever in the world, ever, is the Warrens Museum. The Chai Tea Award for the scariest urban legend goes to... We do not have a clown statue. I'll clap. And the Fermented Tea Award for history's biggest villain obviously goes to Adolf Hitler. No clap for Hitler. Never clap for Hitler. Now, the Peasant's Choice Award, the Yorkshire Tea Award, goes to the suffragette movement. The award for the chamomile tea coolest survival goes to the boat guy, the unsinkable
Stoker.
And finally, the defective tea bag was good old Hannah who poked a tiger.
Don't know if she deserves much of a clap for being an idiot.
More of a slow clap. Slow clap for Hannah. So, thank you for listening.
Thank you, that was fun. It was good to come back. That should have been out New Year's Day, and I'm very sorry. Our second episode of the year should have been out today, but I messed up by getting COVID. I'm sorry.
I don't think you did that deliberately.
I didn't. But we'll be back in a fortnight.
With more content that you know and love.
Definitely.
So, until then, keep listening back to our old episodes. If there's anything that you want to hear, let us know, hit us up. And, thanks for listening.
You can find us on all places where you can find your podcasts.
Yep, and you can also find us at... Anyway, just search Cup of Histortea and you will find us.
We pop up everywhere.
Yeah, we're like an unsinkable stoker. We just happen to be everywhere. Only good things happen, though.
Okay, we're going to go on that note. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Happy 2022.